How do you have the confidence at 19 to drop out of university to back yourself to start a business?
And like, I never, even at 19, that self-doubt and voice in the head did not exist.
Today, I'm joined by Dominic McGregor, founder of Fearless Adventures, and somebody who has very, very openly shared his journey.
The non-conventional route was always the answer for me, and stopping drinking was the non-conventional route.
What was your next move?
Well, we loaded up the computers, loaded up the treat deck, and we tried to make something trend.
And did it work?
Yeah, we did it in 24 minutes.
Dominic McGregor, I feel a little bit nervous today because my question to the team when they were said about you coming on the show was, why does he want to come on my podcast? Like, you are so well known, you've been on so many shows, people know so much about you, that I got a little bit of the nerves. But actually, I've been watching your stuff, I've been doing some research into who you are and what you stand for, and I've gone from feeling nervous to like super excited to have you here. So thank you so much for joining me.
No problem.
Today.
I think what you just said there is probably one of the best intros and compliments I've ever had. So
thank you.
Appreciate that.
No, and it's all true. Anyone that knows me will tell you that I am, to my detriment sometimes, very genuine. But no, it is fantastic to have you. I have a challenge today. This is Founder Stories, and therefore my job for the listeners and the watchers is to delve into your story, who you are, where you came from. 99% of people that sit on that chair, no one knows who they are, and they're really interested in their journey, their childhood, their education, their first jobs. Most people know who you are and know the things that you stand for. So my challenge was to try and almost weave in and out of what people really know about you, and really delve a little bit deeper. And also what I'm keen to talk about today is what you're doing now. Because with all respect, that I struggle to find a lot of content about what you're building today. It's all about the journey that you've been on, which is amazing, by the way, and super interesting. But I think where I'd like to start today is in the present day. I'd like you to tell me a little bit about Fearless. I'd like to tell me what you stand for and the reason why you do what you do.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think to understand we are who we are today based on who we've been previously. So my entire experience and what I'm doing today is shaped on what I've come from. So Fearless, firstly, like Fearless was one of the values that we had at Social Chain. That was like the number one value. So I've always held on to that, and that's why we call the business Fearless, because it was something which means a lot to me. Because fearlessness is it's like a really like strong like emotion. If you say someone is fearless, it means they're like ready to walk into a storm head on and take it on. And being a founder and a business a lot of times is like taking that umbrella into the storm and being like, I'll be fine. So that was where the kind of foundation came from. But also the kind of thesis of the business is we want to help founders scale a business. And the reason why it's like positioned like that is because I got really tired of being a service provider for businesses, providing marketing, providing growth, and yes, sharing in that a little bit, but at the end of the day, the brand would always sit there and take the accolades for the work they've done, rather than actually the agency, because no brand ever sits there and puts their agency on a pedestal. It's always themselves and stuff like that.
Very true.
So when you see big brands you're working with mentioning the role social media has played in their growth of share price from hundreds of thousands to millions and billions, and you're the footnote, but you've driven that, it feels a little bit like, oh God, well, I wish I could actually share that success more.
Yeah.
So that kind of led to my logic of actually I want to invest in companies that I have a vested interest in and help them grow through my expertise in marketing and social media. So today, what Fearless is a business which invests and supports founders growing their company. And we look at that from a number of different areas. And I think the three areas I like to focus on, but I think the number one area, which I think we talk about the most, is the people. Helping founders get them the right people around them. And ultimately, someone once told me you've got two problems in business. Just two, only two. Number one is people. And the second problem is how long it takes you to realize that people's your only problem.
I love that.
So I do believe that. I do believe that if you put the right person into the right position with the right kind of support, you get amazing outcomes. And actually, a lot of times in business, the problems come from having the wrong person in the wrong place, or just the wrong person in general. So for example, take a salesperson, and I've experienced this a number of times. You decide you want to grow the business, you go and hire a salesperson. It takes you 3 months to find that person because of the recruitment process. An interview moves from Monday to next week because no one can do it. You go for the long list, the short list. It then takes you 3 months to hire them because they're on a notice period. Mm-hmm. So then therefore you're 6 months down. It then takes you realize 3 months if they're any good. And then if you want to get rid of them, it takes you 3 months to get rid of them because you've got a 3 month notice period. Mm. So therefore you've lost a year of a salesperson because they weren't good. And how far back would that set your business based on all the assumptions you make? So the strongest thing we talk about in Fearless is having a academy and a talent pool where we help businesses find great people. And that is people we've trained and developed ourselves, that we put on our programs and courses for our academy, but also people who are in industry. And that is everything from entry-level staff to helping people find the right chair. And we do that whole thing.
Right.
And then the other side, obviously funding. Access to funding makes a massive help, so we invest in companies. And then the third is marketing. Where you think I'd come from, you'd think I'd say marketing is the most important piece. But it is, but for a business, I always believe that the brand sits so close to the founders. So the best people to articulate the brand story are founders themselves, not an agency, not a third party. So if you can get someone to work with the founders to help them articulate the brand story, where we see so much founder-led marketing now, it's one of the highest performing contents as well in paid ads is founder-led content. You can actually then scale up a business much easier than just giving all the work to an agency. So they're the 3 areas we look at, and we work with businesses across a range of sectors. And we have so far trained about over 1,000 people. Wow. Through either an academy, training courses, apprenticeships, help them get into jobs. And we've invested in 10 companies, and we've worked with about 20 companies in terms of like growth services as well. Keeping it very small, doing amazing work with less people, working with businesses we want to work with in sectors we believe in. And yeah, that's what I'm doing today. Fantastic. And that's all been born out of running an agency business, which is 250 people across the world working with some of the biggest brands, and the lessons I learned on why agencies are incredible businesses to learn from, but sometimes fundamentally set up in a way where they're very hard to scale.
So many spider senses are tingling right now with what you've just said. Let me try and break this down just a little bit. And I do want to go backwards in a minute and talk about you and your story. But something that I know is super relevant for this particular podcast is the founder-led sales journey. So typically a project that I work on, the outcome that the client is looking for is a move from founder-led sales into a predictable sales motion. The problem is that when I go in, I realise that they're not quite ready for that because they don't have a content strategy, they don't have any demand generation in the business. The founder is very usually anti-marketing, or at least needs marketing to be sold to them as a concept. And you'll know better than anyone how many times you have to sell the brand of a business back to the founder and almost kind of sell their own business to them. So it's really interesting to me, the point that founders should actually take a step back, because it sounds like what you're saying is actually lean in more and be more visible. Don't take a step back and go, right, okay, my business is going to be more valuable if I can show that I'm not needed to drive revenue. What are your thoughts on that?
So there's certain stages where I think it's good and it's bad. So let me give you a best example. Where I think it's really bad is the very early stage. So if it's just you as a person and you're trying to personal brand yourself, and therefore you are then a limiting factor, because people don't want to work with you as a company, they want to work with you as a person. So I always say to people, the best way to start a business is not by a founder having a personal brand, because you will pigeonhole yourself so quickly in a more of a freelancer perspective maybe. Yeah. So don't do that. Build a business which has got a brand and a reputation, and you are the founder of that business. You are not Ben who runs this agency, and you spend all your time marketing Ben, because every client you work with wants Ben. They don't want the business because they don't even know what the business is called. Mm-hmm. And this is what we did so well, is that we might have led founder-led sales and been one of the first people to really drive into personal brand, but we spent so much time building Social Chain as a brand that we became Dom and Steve from Social Chain. Yeah. We weren't Dom and Steve and then Social Chain was underneath here. it was social chain brand was first, and then people discovered other founders. So going back to that part, at the start, very bad. In the middle period, where you've started to get a bit of brand recognition for the business, it becomes powerful because there's no better person to do any sales than the founder.
Right.
So in that period there where you've got off the ground and you're trying to hammer things home and resources are finite and you're the best person to sell, incredibly valuable. When you get to enterprise level and at that point there where you're talking about where they're trying to transition out of it, again it becomes an issue because the founder has much more responsibility to do than just drive sales. So I look at it from different perspectives. So different stages has different value. In that situation, the founder's responsibility for sales is not to be in the room doing the sales, it's to create a halo effect of a business which has a very powerful brand which people want to work with. It's not doing the sales. In that middle bit, it's the founder doing the pitches, it's the founder driving things forward. It's the founder that in that space where they are uniquely positioned to do that because that's who they are. And sales is the most important thing in a business. As you scale, the founder's responsibility shifts to building a story and a narrative and a product which people love, not necessarily being in those meetings.
Yeah, no, great analogy. I love the 1, 2 and 3 phases. And I think where I was just referring to is probably between that 1 and 2, where what the step that they seem to miss is building the brand and building the brand voice and giving it strength, letting it stand on its own 2 feet. I'm guilty of it, but I try and plug the engine all the time, and people are like, what's your day rate? You know, so I completely hear you, and I think it's fantastic advice and something that I'll definitely start to kind of implement.
And that's the question I asked the founders at that stage: is that are you trying to be a fractional yourself? Or are you trying to build a business? Yeah. Because if you build a business, we're all clued into the fact that if you're doing the delivery and doing the sales, you are a freelancer. Yeah. In that split. Yeah. And I think freelancers are founders in every single ilk of what they do because they have to run every element of a business. Yeah. But if you are wanting to scale beyond yourself, you are pigeonholing yourself because you do the delivery and sales. Yeah. The only way you can scale predominantly a service, and I know we're heavily talking about service-led businesses here rather than consumer goods or anything, or tech. If you're in that situation where you are stuck doing selling a service, you will get caught in terms of just maximising your day rate is what your option becomes. Yeah, and you don't tend to see that until it happens. You kind of look back and you go, hell, how did this happen? Yeah. Why is this business just me? So it's something that you see retrospectively that we should really see in our peripheral, really. It should be there, kind of hitting us in the face. And yet we tend to just, grind through the days. And then you look back and you're like, oh no, what happened? Where's my brand gone? Yeah, I've done 6 months of working here in-house because it looked great. And oh my God, I've not actually spent any time on the business or building the business. Yeah. And then you're scared to actually have a business. And is this the kind of stuff that you can help founders with as well at Fearless? Yeah, I mean, yeah. So we have our academy has like a program which is designed for early stage businesses. Right. So we do everything. We kind of take them through 12-week program where we look at everything from legal, HR, finance, marketing, brand, all this kind of stuff. Where this is one of the messages we hammer home to people is like you have to ask yourself what you want. And a lot of the people that work on that come onto that course are freelancers, and they brand themselves as freelancers. And my messaging is quite powerful. I don't think there's anything such as a freelancer. I don't think freelancers exist. I think the fractional work, the fractionalization of people is a really better position for people who are looking at doing that service model. But I ultimately believe that you are providing service, so you are a business, you're a founder. Exactly. If you're a freelancer, you can put 2 people in front of each other, and this is where brand is like important, where someone positions themselves as a founder of a business which does X, or a freelancer which does X, say content creation. They do exactly the same service, but one subconsciously has a much higher ceiling of how much they could charge a client than the other, because that business knows freelancer X is going to do the sales, the delivery and the work. With a founder, well, there might be some kind of team in there might be some kind of process, so you're paying for something which is much bigger than just one person. Yeah. And to come back to like full 360 to like the days of like starting a company is you have to, and this is a discussion I just had with a founder that I've just been with today, not fake it till you make it, but you have to give emphasis of scale to make people believe that you are significant and wanting to be significant. And in no way do I endorse like, a massive overselling over that, but you need to give like some scale of perception. Like from our journey, calling the business social chain and it being a business from day one and not just being 2 kids who are freelancers was a radical difference for us. Yeah. Okay, so you mentioned kids, so let's take it back.
I was going to start at uni because that's where you were when you had the first conversation with Steve and started Social Chain. But I want to go back a little bit further because I've struggled to find too much about you before that. Obviously, you were very young when you started the business. You're still very young now. But I don't really know much about where you came from and your background prior to that. You obviously had a decent education because you were at uni at the time, but you were not doing a degree that was preventing you from leaving and going and starting up something on someone's couch. So I'd love to know a little bit about the baby Dom.
Baby Dom?
Yeah, not necessarily baby Dom, but pre-uni Dom.
What's most interesting? When's the most interesting?
I'll tell you what, when we spoke, Dom, you agreed with me that, a lot of the content that you've created, a lot of the podcasts that you go on, a lot of the hosts ask you the same stuff.
Yep.
I'm going to put my glasses on.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure I get this name right, and I can't see without them. So you challenged me to ask you something that you hadn't been asked before.
Yep.
So I went down a little bit of a wormhole. You might have me arrested now, but I take my challenges very, very seriously. So do you remember the Bambas?
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
Let's talk about like firework nights and stuff and what life was like as a kid on firework night with your friends, the Bamba family.
Yep.
Let's start there.
Yeah. So Sam is still one of my best friends.
Really?
To this day, we're best friends. He was one of the grooms. Him and Steve were my kind of top groomsmen at my wedding.
Right.
So yeah, me and Sam we're just up to we're just kids.
And where are you at this point? Are you in Manchester?
I'm in York, so I was best friends with Sam. Sam has been my best friend since we were 4 years old. We were in the same reception class. And we grew up together, we played football together, we spent our entire lives. And I think the interesting part about probably like where my life started to diverge from like normality is like at 11. Right. So I go to normal state school, normal like primary school, and then my older brother was getting bullied.
Right.
So really bad.
In the same school?
In the same school, yeah.
Right.
I didn't know about this, but he got bullied.
Oh no.
By girls.
Right.
Got teased by girls a lot. And my parents made a promise to him that he's not going to have to go to school with them for secondary school. So they started to look at taking him to private school. So my older brother went to private school to get out of the system of being bullied. And then I had the option whether I wanted to go to private school or whether I wanted to go to normal school. And did the going around schools and stuff. And I was very quite popular because I played football, so I was very, very popular. And I chose to go to private school. And one of the big reasons I did that was because I played football, I knew I wouldn't lose my friends. Sam inclined, and so we would still socially hang out all the time. We'd play football every Friday.
So Sam didn't go.
Sam didn't go. So I was the only person.
Right.
I was the only person in my year to not go to the high school, to go to private school. So that I don't know whether that kind of made me feel like a little bit like better, but it was kind of this first like sense of like, oh, I'm going to private school. I'm just different, isn't it?
Yeah.
But then what actually happens is, so bear in mind, still to this day, there's probably like a group of 5 of us who are all still really good friends. They were all at my stag do, all on my wedding. Adam, Sam, Jacob. We live on the same. All our parents live in the same houses.
Right.
We live like literally 500 meters away from each other, back in York. So like I see them all the time when I'm 11, 12, and my time is spent with them. So back at private school, I'm like the non-conformer. So I'm the one that has come from a school, a normal school. So like, and
does that make a difference?
It does. So I'll tell you why it makes a difference, and this is going to explain it. So it makes a difference because my dad was that kid as well.
Your dad's a GP, right?
Yeah. So my dad went to private school.
Right.
But he went to private school. So my granddad. So this is, I think, I've reflected on it quite a lot, and I think my granddad's the 2 most influential people in my life. So my dad's dad was born in Glasgow.
Right.
In 1930s, and grew up in the Gorbals, which is like notoriously the poorest part of Glasgow. Yeah. Which then had like one of the lowest life expectancies in the world. So like proper like deprived area. He worked in a steel factory, and one Easter, they basically said the factory's closing. So everyone's getting fired, and this was happening all around Glasgow, and like unemployment levels were ridiculously high. He had a motorbike sidecar, so he got my gran, my auntie, who was born at the time and drove down to Coventry on Easter Friday, spent the weekend knocking on doors to get factory workers to get a job in Coventry come Monday morning, because he knew if he stayed in Glasgow, he would not get a job.
Any reason why Coventry was?
Because it's where the other steel workers were.
Right.
So
okay.
for cars and stuff.
Of course, yeah.
So that's why they just went, we're going to go there.
Wow.
So
what great work ethic.
This is where I get it from. Unbelievable. So then him and then my granddad ended up working in the factories as well. So his big belief always was that the only way out of where their situation was education. So he would relentlessly make my dad and my other uncles read and like lessons and like basically drill it into them that the only way you're going to get out of the situation and change your life is through education. And my dad went to private school because he got a scholarship space.
Right.
So he's a scholarship kid at private school, so he gets bullied as well because like he's the poor kid.
Yeah. That's tough.
He is properly the poor kid. I'm not the poor kid.
Yeah.
Because I'm there on merit, but I'm like so he had that experience, went to university, great. I felt like I had that experience, but I had the experience more from a social aspect.
Yeah.
I played football with all my mates that, I have friends outside of private school, and my private school friends were all...
Yeah, so they're like, what are you doing tonight? Round. You're like, I'm out with my mates.
I'm out I'm playing football. I'm like living like a normal life. So
they thought, he's slumming it down.
A little bit, yeah. And I actually remember one year, like year 8, like it was like fancy dress, and I came in like football girl dressed as a chav, because like that's how like people perceive me a little bit. But it built what I think it made in me was a sense of like a little bit tough, a little bit of sense of reassurance, and a little bit of sense of just like self-confidence maybe. Yeah. Because like I had great social circles across the whole life. So every single firework day we'd go to the Bambas and we'd have fireworks there. Yeah. And that was like I had a normal life. Yeah. But then still went to private school. So and this will come into it a little bit, is like, how do you have the confidence at 19 to drop out university to back yourself to start a business? Well, I think the only way you do that is by never actually experiencing failure. Because you don't know how it feels. You've got nothing in your mind which tells you this is going to be a bad idea. Yeah, I agree. And that's what happened to me. I walked through my A-levels, walked through my GCSEs, walked through life socially wise. Like, I never faced any problems, never faced real adversity, to be honest. And even when I went to university, my offer for university to go to Edinburgh University, bear in mind I was told by every single person in my school applying to Edinburgh University is a wasted application because nobody gets in. I suddenly get in and not only get an offer, but I get an offer of BBC, which is a subsidised offer, because they want me there. Right. And the person in my life that's hurt the most is my older brother. So my older brother's view is that I've always landed on my feet. I totally get where he's coming from. It must be quite a hard lens. Are you close now? Do you get on well? I love him. Yeah. That speaks volumes. But I think, I can totally see that from his perspective. I have the same with my brother. My brother is one of those people who just like lands in, he'll fall in a pile of shit and come up smelling of roses every single time. And I'm the black sheep. Yeah. And all I've ever done is work. And yet he just seems to be like... But it goes the opposite way, because Sam would say the same. Right. But Sam's one of 4. Right? Sam's one of 4 as well, yeah. But we're still... So he's the second, we're all the same. We're literally all the same age as well. Right, okay. I'm one of 4, he's one of 4. Right. And we're all the same age. That's how we became friends, because our parents were friends with each other. Right, okay. Because they're all like kids the same age. So we were both the second, and he would say the same about me. And he is one of the only people that's come from my life who at no point has ever got any sense of enviness of what I've been through. He is the only probably not the only person, there's probably one or two other people, but my person I'm closest to who still sees me as that 10-year-old boy when we were at school, primary school together, having fun. Everyone else, even when I went to secondary school, I'd become Dom, who goes to private school, so they didn't want anything to do with me. When I dropped out of university, my university friends were like, "You're dropping out of university, why are you doing that?" Even now, people I went to secondary school with kind of like, well, whatever, you are who you are. He's the only person that has, and I do believe, has known me for that entire time and has never changed his view on me. Yeah. What a great friend. That's the mark of a friendship though, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's why, friendships come and go, but I think a mark of a true friend is just having that
very just that stagnant view of you, no matter what happens, no matter what's going on in your life, and that just never changes. That's very hard to come by, which is why most people, if they were challenged, could probably count their real friends on one hand, because that's very, very, very difficult to come by. So I'm glad I asked you the question.
Yeah, he's godfather to my son.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been delving into the bonfire nights, and I thought, what a great place to start, because you were a person before you did Social Chain.
Yeah.
And not only were you a person, but there wasn't something radical that changed as soon as you joined Social Chain that made you into an entrepreneurial person or somebody who could do the things that you could do or had the talent. It was always there. You just brought it out. You had an opportunity at a very young age for that to come out.
But I think most importantly, you had an opportunity, and I had no voice in my head. So I remember speaking to people who I went to school with, I was like, when did you first experience anxiety? They were like, I remember this one girl specifically called Georgia. She was like, 13, 14 years old. And she told me about English classes where she felt anxious about doing exams. And like, I never, even at 19, that self-doubt and voice in the head did not exist.
So let's double click on that. Is that your parents, or is that something that you've been born with?
I think it comes over time. Going back to what I said there about never experiencing failure. That amplified over so, like, of course I experienced failure. Like in sport, I lost football matches. Of course that happened all the time. I wouldn't get into the schoolboys local team. I got kicked out of Leeds football academy because I wasn't good enough. So I experienced failure. Of course I did. But in the macro world, none of it was ever like, it was all near misses. And this is how I see, maybe this is how I see it. It was nothing which was like crippling.
Yeah.
So like, I'd dust myself off and go on again. And maybe my big view is that like, maybe, and this is, again, a lot of this is hindsight, I never was worried about what people thought about things. Going back to being that kid who like probably got the mick taken out of school a bit too many times, I was never bothered about people's perceptions of things. So like that like idea of not just self-doubt, but like societal doubt of, am I doing the right thing, never existed.
Yeah.
So I come back to it and be like, I'm dropping out of university, that's business. I don't care what society says. I don't care what my friends say. I don't care what my best friend at university, Olivia or Tabby, say that I'm making a big mistake. I feel like I'm okay doing it, so I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And I think maybe some people would experience that societal pressure that I have to be on this journey, especially if their parents have spent thousands of pounds on education. That's
what I was going to say. Like, so your dad has experienced really being the poor kid, but has had drilled into him that the way to get out of any bad situation or the way to make it in life is through education. So he's a huge advocate for education. How did that go down at home when you said that you want to leave a university that everyone said you wouldn't get into in the first place?
Absolutely fine. And I think it comes back to that they backed me. And so all these things build up over time where it's like, maybe I can do it.
Yeah.
And like at no point did people told me I was making the wrong mistake doing it, but not many people told me I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And it was like, and this is how I probably felt, is that, well, I'll give it a go.
Yeah.
And I remember dropping out of university and like my cost level for life, I was renting a place in Leeds at the time, £500 a month is what I needed to live. So I was like, sure, I can make £500 a month. Like that's like, we have to be able to make that, otherwise what's the point?
Oh, so you weren't at home?
No. So
you had to pay for yourself straight away?
Myself,
right,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, I had to do a little bit of survival there.
Right.
Bear in mind, like the other side of it is like, coming back to the privilege and security blanket, like, I knew I could go back to university a year afterwards if things weren't going well, and B, I knew if things were going well, I could run home with my tail between my legs, and go back into my house. Yeah. So like I do know I had privilege there. I wasn't like hung out to dry and you know you got to figure it out, but I was definitely given a platform where you have the best opportunity for success here. Go and do it.
Absolutely, and you're really validating a lot here for me as a parent. My son's 17 and has just dropped out of college, and he's very entrepreneurial. He's always, he's got 30,000 followers on TikTok, and he's very much kind of just really always thinking of the next thing. And to be honest, most of what comes out of his mouth is total trash. Yeah. But ultimately, he may or may not find the thing that sticks, because let's face it, not everybody that drops out of college to follow a dream is going to end up having social chain, right? No. A lot of them are either going to have to go back to college or uni, go to the parents with their tail between their legs, or go and work in Tesco or do something else. Like, they're not all going to find social chain. But the point is not, oh, you might found this huge enterprise and be super successful and exit at what, 27? Sorry, bad research there. But the key thing is, and certainly as a parent, is to provide a safe environment. And I think that your safety net has probably been testament to a lot of the decisions that you've made. And it's massively paid off for you, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I think the other interesting part about it is like the way timing and luck play a huge part about it. So, going back to a 17-year-old right now, a lot of people want to drop out for the same reasons. They want to either start a social account and become an influencer. Like, when we were 13, no one was dropping out wanting to start a social media like business. Like, I remember saying to someone, I'm going to run a Twitter account full time, and they're like, how is that a job? Now it's like common knowledge,
Yeah, we all want a little mini Mr. Beast, don't we, in our family?
Exactly. So it was almost reluctant because we'd created something which was new. And so that's where I think the differentiator comes, is that it was like a proper like element of innovation. Yeah. Rather than it being like, okay, we're dropping out to do something. So I think that's the piece I have to look back, and like that can only happen then. It can't happen now. Yeah. If someone goes to university and drops out to start a social media business now, it's not a news story. Yeah. It's just another person starting a social media business. Back then, when in a world where Twitter was like just starting and Facebook, like the idea of a social media agency like didn't exist. So we were innovating. So actually that's when the whole thing became newsworthy and interesting, because not only is there a social media agency that's doing new stuff, it's run by 2 young kids. Totally. I went to a talk in Amsterdam 2018, 2019, and Steve was talking, and it was absolutely groundbreaking. Yeah. Groundbreaking. I was mesmerised. I was like, these guys are really like, they're really trailblazing here. So, but it's mad, isn't it, our time, because that's not that long ago, really. No. And as you say, now everyone's an influencer, and it's all exactly. So, like, my challenge to people in that situation is like, what, like, coming back to like that process I had about like convention, and like me constantly maybe taking the different path that other people were taking. Where like now, if you go and tell people I want to do that's becoming more convention. Yeah. So my challenge to people is like, what is not conventional right now? Yeah. What is the opposite route to what everyone's doing? Yeah. Because that's where the opportunity is. It's not where everyone else is going. Yeah. And back when I was 18, everyone was going to university. And, now everyone's talking about the student debt crisis, and they're talking about graduates not being able to earn. So, like, that's where conventions led people. Yeah. People, like, who went on convention are trapped. Yeah. Like, especially, well, I was the year before the fees went up. So the year afterwards, which is the new candle, those are the people that I feel sorry for. Yeah. So then my question to people now is, like, try and find unconventional routes, because convention historically has never led to individual prosperity. Yeah, really good line. Love that. So we are in social chain. You've made the decision. Everyone that's watched or listened to any of your content will know you basically got a tap on the shoulder from Steve. You two decided to join forces. That's kind of old news. We know that. We know that you founded the business together. Talk to me about that little bit of a pinchy time between deciding to do that, and you've made a lot of sacrifices at this point, and I'm sure he had to, but actually kind of going, do you know what? And let's look at like the milestones that we look at now with your founders. How do they know we're onto something here? Whether it's your first £1 million with a pipeline. At what point did you go, or what was the journey like from like, we're 2 kids to this is a business, we're a brand, we're going to make some money here, guys? Mm-hmm. So I think we started the journey of probably being like remote workers before people were remote workers. So we went to Thailand and we worked with people there where, we worked with one big client, Spotify, from being in Thailand. Then we went to Brazil for the World Cup, and then we went to the USA, and we were basically helping companies market without realising that we were helping them market. Mm-hmm. So we were coming in as consultants, and our secret weapon was that we had all these social media pages behind us that they could use them to drive the marketing forward. And then I think I don't know who. Well, we had a name. We had a name before then, because when we first needed to get cash, we basically created a brand that we were going to try and sell.
Right.
And that's where the social chain came from, because the logic was a chain of pages on social media.
Yeah. I remember that from Steve's talk actually.
Yeah. So we that's how we came to the idea.
Yeah.
There's a discrepancy who came up with the name, but I personally think it was Ash Jones. Still,
Right.
I'm convinced it was Ash Jones. My memory's pretty sharp. And that was what we sold. We sold the access to the social chain of pages.
Yeah.
But then in doing so, that led us to conversations with founders about how they can grow their business. So we kind of built a consultative piece off the back of the pages.
Yeah.
And the first kind of times that we felt like it was being successful was when we probably had comfort in ourselves. So when we're in Thailand and we wake up in the morning and we go on a moped and we go and swim, and that's kind of like, hey, this is pretty cool. When we go to the World Cup, we can party on Copacabana and then run some social media pages in the afternoon. That's probably when we felt it.
Yeah.
When we got like a worldwide trend during the World Cup final, because of our pages, we go, this is pretty impactful.
Yeah.
So all these things you build up, and like, I think the beautiful thing about it was, and this is how communities are built, and we inadvertently learned this, communities are built through authenticity.
Yeah.
So if you don't sell things, and this is why I think a lot of brands struggle right now, I think every single brand should think like a media business. They should have like a community that they own and operate. The only way to like build an authentic community is not to sell to people. Brands are too quick to put on their social media or to put on their TikTok, buy now. So they're pushing a sales message.
Talk to sales, all the time, yeah.
Rather than cultivating a audience and community through powerful content. Yeah. What we did is, because we had nothing to sell, we just built community. Over and over and over again, years of building channels and building, we built community because we had nothing to sell. We could just create content. Yeah. So we built massive communities because of that, and then we were able to start selling them because we could go to a brand and say, hey, we can get things trending on Twitter. Yeah. So for me, like the first kind of the two moments, the one where it was like, hang on, this is quite powerful, is when we're in Silicon Valley and we're at a company called Monkey Inferno. A guy called Sean Piori, who now runs My First Million, big podcast, amazing guy. He watched us make something trend worldwide during the World Cup final. Right. And he's like, this is pretty powerful. Yeah. And this is what we did for fun. We've done worldwide trends before. So we're like, for us, this was normal. So that was like point one. We're like, maybe we should take this seriously. Our client at the time then offers an investment, and I spent a lot of time, Steve and I, whether we're deciding to do it or not, ended up deciding to do it. That was point one. That was kind of like a really short, like 2-month period. And then point two was when BuzzFeed came to us and were like, you say you can make things trend, do it. And literally the guy came in and was like, you've been on stage making the claim you can make anything the number one trend in the UK within half an hour. Do it. Got his phone out, pretty much pressed time on his stopwatch and was like, go on then. What was your next move? Well, we loaded up the computers, loaded up the treat jacket, and we tried to make something trend. And did it work? Yeah, we did it in 24 minutes. Did you? And like, he was coming with the mindset of writing an expose. But in reality, he had to validate the fact that what we said was true. Could you do that now, do you think? No, could you do that now? I'm not going to challenge you on it, by the way. I couldn't personally, but could someone do that now? Is it too crowded, or? Could someone do that now? Great question. I don't know. I think not that it's too crowded. I just think there's too much going on in the world. Like, news happens in there. So like, what we had was like, we had enough inventory on social to be able to make that happen. No one has that penetration anymore. What gets trending now is, you probably could. You need a lot of money and the right thing, because we've seen things a million times now. So it'd be harder, but I think probably still possible. Yeah. So that was the next moment. And like, after that was put on BuzzFeed. We got like Disney, 20th Century Fox, Nike, all these amazing brands coming to us being like, hey, it sounds like you know what you're doing when it comes to marketing to young people. Can you help us? Yeah. And that was like the next inflection. So throughout this, there's a lot of challenging days, but it sounded like a bit of an awesome journey as well, with some massive moments, some like celebratory moments that, as someone that's sold software and done enterprise sales, I can only like imagine that the feeling of selling to some of these brands that you were selling to
must have been 100 times some of the celebrations that I've had, and yet I party when something goes well. Like, I know how to celebrate a deal. So you probably see where I'm going with this now. Your kind of journey around, you know, alcohol and that kind of thing, as kind of, and obviously you've written about this, you've been very open about this, but has kind of been linked very much to the darker times, the cash flow crises, the challenges we find as founders when we're running a business, and you know, it's so stressful. I'm gonna mask. Was that do you think that was the catalyst for that, or actually was it there was just so many great moments? Like, which do you think really drove that?
I think coming back to like my starting journey is that when my brother turned 18, I turned 18. And he never went out, I always went out. So I had his ID from when I was 18 years old. Even before that, me and Sam would used to go out all the time. So like...
And how old were you really?
16.
Right.
I've been going out to nightclubs since I was 16. Me and Sam were going out to nightclubs since we were 16. And like me and Sam used to have a joke, it'd be like Sam and Dom plus one nights. And we'd go out all the time. Every single bloody time I go, like, on my memories, there's like tons of photos of us out. So again, coming back to adversity, I'd never experienced any negative areas of drinking. I'd go out, have a great time, I'd wake up in the morning. I never got lost, I never got in a fight, I never like was in danger at any point. So like for me, like my like relationship with alcohol was formed really young, really early, that it was just part of my life. Like I remember I also won at school, secondary school, most likely to be drunk right now, because I just go out all the time. And I had this ability, again, just to bounce back as you do as a young person and be functioning and actually fine in school. And that was just how I was. Took that to university as well, would just go out all the time, have fun, was in the football team, socialised, was great. And never learned, probably, like deep down, like how to manage my emotions. So like I, as we all do, go through things like breakups, go through bad times. And my solution for that when I was younger would just be have a drink and get over it.
Right.
And when life is like not stressful, like breakups when you're 18 happen, it's not like these aren't real problems. These are fake problems. These are not, like, at the time it feels like your biggest problem, but it's not a real problem. If you deal with it that and then you go out and get drunk and have a nice time and you get over something, you might get over something, but you never actually learn a proper coping mechanism. So like my like immaturity of like how to deal with emotions was drinking, it'll go away, because that's what I'd learned my entire life from like these little things. So I'd also learn drink, have a fun time, celebrate and have a party. So I think those two things combine together where you become so like almost like dependent, or like you associate the two things so strongly that when things are great you drink, and when things are bad you drink. And the problem, I think the fundamental problem I had was I was unable to deal with my emotions and my situation. So my anxiety, my depression, my imposter syndrome, that the only way I knew how to deal with these things was to like drink and recluse and escape. So actually like my fundamental problem wasn't the alcohol. The alcohol was my medicine. My fundamental problem was like inability to deal with emotions, which manifests itself through alcoholism.
So through your journey now in sobriety, you've removed the medicine. What have you done about the symptoms themselves in the absence of that medicine?
Well, let's take anxiety, for example. Why does anxiety occur? Anxiety occurs when someone's worried about the future. Okay, you're overthinking things, you're analysing situations that are not going to happen because something feels like it's outside your control. Take cash flow. If you have a full grasp of it and understand what's coming in and what's going, and you understand from a model perspective, for example, what a business is going to look like, or what your personal finance is going to look like, that anxiety gets removed because you know the facts. Yeah. If you're speculating, that's when that happens. Depression, in my mind, my view of depression, it comes when you feel like your self-worth is very low. So you are becoming your own worst enemy and you're talking yourself down, where actually you then don't want to do something and you create a massive spiral which makes life worse for you. If you learn to love yourself and you actually see that what makes you happy isn't something which is external, or which isn't something which needs to be put on to you from somebody else, but is in your own control, and you can find that in the like smallest of things, or the something which is so unique to you that makes you happy, that actually that is happiness, you will no longer get depressed. imposter syndrome, if if you feel like you walk into a room and you deserve to be in that room and you are comfortable with who you are, the two things linked with depression slightly, I think, then you don't experience imposter syndrome. So for me, what removing alcohol did was allow me to learn my views on those things and deal with the problems that I was facing.
So alcohol wasn't really a medicine, it was a blocker to the real antidote, which is just facing up to things and learning how to deal with them without having this kind of...
escapism.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but the problem is, the thing about alcohol is that you don't win another contract when you're pissed.
Yeah.
No one ever goes out because to celebrate Amazon and then wins another Amazon that night.
Yeah.
What happens when you're drunk is you mess up your relationships. You do something stupid, which then reduces your self-worth. You actually feed your brain with poison, which makes you want to kill yourself and question who you are as a person, and the depression. So that's what alcohol does. It just makes every single situation worse. It doesn't make things better. Yes, there's some stories of people go out and they fall in love with the person they meet, but that's an anomaly. The average night out, you get no sleep, you fill yourself with a toxin, you eat terrible food. The next day you feel even worse. That's not trending upwards, that's trending downwards. So when you've got everything already on top of you pushing you down and you're putting this fuel into it, you're only going to get lower. Yeah. So removing that is the only way to improve.
And what would you say you work with a lot of founders now? I'm assuming that they're not all sober.
Yeah.
And some will have different relationships. So some will have a relationship with alcohol similar to the one that you had, and you're best placed to advise them how to remove that from their lives and get rid of that, because that's not going to serve them and they're not going to be successful. Some will have a much more balanced relationship with alcohol. You obviously feel quite strongly about the effects of alcohol on people, founders, etc. How do you converse with those that have much more of a balanced view? Do you still say, actually, there's no such thing and you need to get that out of your life altogether?
I think you answered the question yourself in the way you put it to me.
Which is?
You described it as a relationship. And not many people do that. And you're self-aware enough to know it's a relationship, and a relationship requires management, it requires checking on whether it's healthy or not. And my view to people is that actually you should view alcohol, or you should question whether your relationship with alcohol is healthy. Yeah. The same we do with anything. So I think my view on it is that my question I ask people is not should you drink, or do you drink, and why do you drink? It's do you think you have a healthy relationship with alcohol? Yeah. And if someone can answer me that question, yes, without a shadow of a doubt, think about it, I'm fine. Yeah. Because everyone's different. But my view is that I want everyone to think about alcohol in terms of a relationship. Yeah, it should be the same with everything. Work, your friends, your actual relationships, your partner. Yep. If it's not serving you and it's actually making you sad. But this is the thing people can't do. People can't self-reflect. While it sounds so easy for me to say that to you, do you have a healthy relationship with alcohol? To some people, that's their darkest fear of questioning they'll ever ask themselves. The whole self-improvement thing, it only comes from asking yourself these questions. And we're all humans, we all have things we hide. There's no people that know each other 100%, we all have little things that, deepest, darkest thoughts, and it's very hard to bring these things to your forefront and say, I need to do something about that. Yeah. And it tends to be in addictions. I was speaking to Holly, who's my social producer, and she was telling me about someone she knew who had a gambling issue, and the gambling issues are so common. Don't know if I have to edit this out, but can I tell about this, Holly? Yeah, of course you can. Okay. She was saying that someone she knew's partner moved in together, had a gambling problem, and then said basically at the moment it was found out, changed, ran away. Yeah. And no one knew that he had a gambling problem. So we all have gone through things in life where we've hidden things close to us. But these are the questions we need to ask ourselves, and for some people it's so hard to ask this question. It is, and it's the same with human relationships as well. So many women that I've known that are suffering from abuse at home don't talk about it. Yep. And so I suppose any relationship, whether it's with a drink, whether it's with gambling, whether it's with a person or an individual, if it's a toxic, unhealthy relationship, then we're instinctively ashamed
of
you're
it and don't want
ashamed
to
and
talk
you've got
about
to
it.
admit you failed.
Yeah.
And that is the hard part. And this is something I feel strongly about. And it's like with men, for example, men do not want to admit they failed. So the reason male alcoholism and suicide becomes such a hard part, such a large like association, is because men don't want to accept they failed. And I think coming back to like my narrative of like never failing, that's what led me to drinking.
Yeah.
I'd never admit I'd failed, because it was like for me it was a sign of strength. Being able to down a pint was like a sign of strength and popularity. And like the biggest thing I've learned in through the whole thing is like you can just accept you failed throughout this whole process, and actually it makes it easier.
It's quite endearing to people as well when you know, I think admitting that you failed is it makes you more human, right?
But this is what entrepreneurs mean when they say fail more.
Yeah.
Fail
fast.
That is my saving grace. I am so happy because I like in reflection I would have been an alcoholic at some point. But the reason that it happened so early is because my life circumstances accelerated all. You put anyone in a situation where a year ago they're at university, they've got 3 p.m. lectures and they miss a 3 p.m. lecture because they're in bed hungover, to a year later having a team of 20 staff managing investment and cash flow. There is no, you show me any person who can go through that in that rapid growth in a period of time and not break, I'll be impressed.
Yeah.
The people, the young entrepreneurs you hear about are always ones that are always, and this is the thing, I wasn't the entrepreneurial kid. I wasn't selling sweets at school. Steve was more like that. You know, his story about bringing vending machines into the school. Like he was always thinking about this. For me, I was just a normal person, and it became a business. And that stretch of growth, like he had like, you know, he was 19, we were both 19, but he might have had 6 years more experience than me. Yeah. Yeah. Which is a massive amount of experience.
And he's probably hardwired like that as well, whereas you're wired in a slightly different way.
Exactly, yeah. Which is one of the reasons why we worked, but also one of the reasons why I broke. Is because I was never wired for that. Yeah. So that's what they mean by, like, that's what I've always interpreted by fail fast, is like, because the reason, I am an example of what happens when you fail.
And so it's a good thing.
It's a good thing.
Yeah. And are you happy now?
Oh yeah, unbelievably.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what makes me happy. I know the biggest thing about it is I've learned myself and know myself.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest change, is that I remember sitting there the first weekend of like thinking to myself, I'm not going to drink alcohol, and asking to myself, what do I do? And what does someone who's 23 years old who doesn't drink do on a weekend?
As well. It's so the prime drinking time of your life as well.
For their life.
Like single, I literally just,
single, what do I do? What does my life look like? And like I couldn't, like, scarily enough, I couldn't answer that then. And it felt like terrifying. Now I'm like, God, how stupid is that person?
Yeah, you found some to do though, didn't you?
I found some things to do, yeah. But that's the thing, that's how it clouds you, because whenever you becoming, you know, and it was a community because we go out and we see the same people, we go to the same places, it was a habit. When you're in that world, or any community or any group of people where everyone's behaviour is the same, to remove yourself from that situation and be like, well, I'm going to go different, is not normal. And thankfully, my entire life I'd done that. Yeah. So when I did that from year 11, from being 11 to 12 and going to secondary school, I was removing myself from my friendship group and saying I'm going to go somewhere different. When I started to go to Edinburgh University and all my mates were taking gap years or going to other universities, I was like saying, bye, I'm going to go this way. When I was at university and dropped out and started business, I was like, see you later, I'm going this way. Yeah. When I said to everyone around me, I'm not going drinking, I'm going this way, I was like, see ya. Yeah. So I was thankful that
it's changing your environment,
isn't it? I was able to, in my life, I've been able to walk away from something and know it's not the end. Yeah. So coming back to what we talked about with Sam, is that knowing at 11 years old that you're leaving your best mate and going on a completely different path to go into a different school to him, but knowing that change doesn't impact you. Yeah. Is probably what got me out of drinking. Yeah. Because
he's your constant, right? He's your throughout all of this.
Even that logic. Yeah. Of like, just because I'm saying bye to all my friends that are going drinking. Yeah. Or like Steve going out, or doesn't mean I'm leaving them. Yeah. Our relationship might change, but they're still gonna be there.
Yeah,
so
you're
like,
in a different room. Yeah.
I've had so much experience of doing that that it was probably a piece on me where I was like, well, people just will like me for who I am. So it doesn't matter if I go to private school and my friends go to another school, or it doesn't matter if I drop out of university or start a business. It doesn't matter if I drink or not drink. They'll still be there.
And if they're not, they were just part of that environment. Exactly. Not part of you.
Exactly. So I learned that the non-conventional route was always the
Yeah.
answer for me, and and stopping drinking was the non-conventional route.
Yeah, love that. I think we've really we've gone all the way back to baby Dom. I'm so glad that I asked you about Sam and the family, because actually what I didn't get from listening to content of yours previously was how much of an important part of your life that family and Sam were. So I'm really glad that I rooted that out of the bin. But yeah, I feel like we've really got to know you, and what I'd love to finish on is for you to have a think about, and none of this is pre-scripted, so I'm totally putting you on the spot here, but you are known predominantly for two things, which is social chain and sobriety. Those are your two pillars, shall we say, and that is somehow by design as well.
I'm so glad you didn't say trains.
No.
Because some people will put trains.
Okay. Well, those are the two pillars that I
Thank God.
and that's by design as well, because you want to, you've written books on this stuff. You want to be known for this. So it's not like people are trying to pigeonhole you or anything. It is very much by design. But what I'd really like to know today, and we always finish on like what's next and what's the future, but actually, what do you want to be known for now?
Now or in the future?
Both. What are your hopes and dreams now?
Yeah, like the big piece now, like, is that I want to be known as the person who helps give opportunity to young people to get into the industry. Social Chain was built off a bunch of 16-year-olds, 19-year-olds doing things differently, and I've seen firsthand how you put a young person into a company and it changes the way you think. I think every company should have some form of youth board or youth member on their senior exec team, because the what's happening is that the older a board gets, the quicker technology goes, the slower they can have to adapt to it. Yeah. So having a 25-year-old who is in the cultural centre of the world, the technological centre of the world, being able to help shape the direction that company is going in is ridiculously important. So how do you do that? Well, you start off by getting young people interested in work from a young age. You get them Saturday jobs, you get them part-time jobs, you get them learning the value of money, and you get them desiring the fact they want to get into companies so that they can make a difference. Yeah. How you do that from a company perspective is making sure you have things like the apprenticeship levy in place to help young people get into jobs that is unique for them. So the problem we've got at the moment with the wage crisis is that hiring a 18-year-old out of school is the same as hiring a 21-year-old out of university. There's not much difference now when it comes to cost to the employer. So you've got, and I had this experience the other day, you go into a pub which used to be filled with young people working there as a temporary basis. Every single person in the pub that worked there was a 30-year-old guy. And that's because there's nowhere for them to go. So they're stopping young people getting into that job and work experience because pubs have closed, there's less people there, and they always want to stay in the pub trade, and now 30-year-old men who want to work in a pub. Yeah. So like for me, youth opportunity doesn't start at 21 when you're a graduate. It starts at a young age, work experience, 14, 13, even at school, experience in the industry and see what it looks like. So that's what I want to be known for, is like helping shape that. And then secondly, I want to be a good dad. Yeah. I think that's a very important piece.
It's a really important thing to aspire to.
I want to be a good dad. Yeah. I think if I can do those two things, in the youth piece, obviously, I kind of put like investing in founders and helping them grow, because that's like the whole premise of it. Yeah. But if I can be a good dad, that'll be a massive success.
Yeah, I think it's if we can be good parents and raise useful humans who have good moral.
Yeah, and do you know what, the two things are linked? I'm sat there thinking, because I've got how old are you now? 1. He ain't gonna have a job. If I really critically think about it, he's not gonna have a job in the sense of what we know as a job. He needs to do something which is like really like hobby for.
Yeah, because we're talking like 15 years away or 13, 14 years away before he starts to get into.
Yeah, we're talking.
So like, what the hell is the world gonna look like?
He's not gonna like. If I have the mentality that he's not going to have a job, like is a traditional sense, he's not going to go to I don't think he's going to go to like an office and like work on a computer. I need to think about how I raise him and what he does to be able to make sure that his life is fulfilling.
It's really interesting because we've been conditioned through schools and parents to, control screen time and all of that stuff. And it's like, well, where do you draw the line? Because what you don't want is for your kids to come out of high school with a few GCSEs with no ability to use any social media platforms or know how anything works.
So
I
disagree with this. I didn't start social media platforms until I was 18. I turned out all right.
Well, I mean, the world that we're in now, it's like...
But you don't need to. It doesn't have to be wired into you from the age of 3. I didn't.
What are you going to do with your son?
No screen time.
No screen time.
Outdoor hobbies. I will not mind Monday badminton, Tuesday swimming, Thursday. Like, that's how I was.
Honestly, it's very tiring. I'm going to warn you now. It's absolutely exhausting.
I know it is, but but I think that's more important. That's what I think. Like, my view is that I didn't learn computers until I was 17, 18. I figured it out. I wasn't technologically behind anyone. So them starting on phones later is not going to leave them behind.
Yeah, I just don't know. I feel like there's just so much, it's even for them from a social perspective, for them to feel like they fit in. You know, there's so many different things going on that you're trying to manage.
If you do tons of clubs and you're popular in those clubs, you'll feel like you fit in. If it's just, again, this is from my background in football. If you've got friends and people respect you for who you are through sport, and you know that you see people and you get validation that way, you're not going to worry about what the group chat's saying on a Tuesday night.
Great points to finish on.
I'm starting to see that more and more. You know, I think that is my view, is that, and I feel grateful that whenever my kids turn to me and say, "Well, I can't go on social media," I can tell them.
What will your answer be?
Well, what's the debate to someone like their dad's an entrepreneur from social media? I'll say you can use it when I used it. I just don't know how they can debate with me about it.
Yeah, it's going to be... I'm trying to debate with you about it, and I'm finding it really tough.
I just don't know how they can say I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I just don't know. I just don't know what their argument is. Well, all my friends are on it. Well, did their parents build social media companies? No, fine.
Oh, damn you, Dom! You've definitely got it.
I've got the trump card of debate.
You have.
Because I can just say, I know about it.
Yeah.
I didn't. You can have it when I had it. How old is that? 18.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna get left behind now. You not look at me. Like, and I feel privileged to be able to.
Yeah, you do. You are in a privileged situation.
I feel privileged to be able to have that conversation in a rational way, where I can explain it.
Yeah.
And they can't argue back at me. They will argue back. I know, 100%. I'm ruining their lives, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I say never ruin my life.
Yeah.
And hopefully they have to accept it.
Hopefully. Well, you've got a rough ride on your hands. I don't envy you, but I'm sure. Hopefully, it will. You know, everything will work out. And I suppose it.
This is the thing. Maybe I'm a bit too logical. I'm not thinking about it.
I think being a parent is probably the most illogical thing, because you just don't know what the day is going to bring. No. You don't know how your child is going to be. So I always just I like to plan everything. I over prepare everything. I like to know what I'm going to be doing. I love forecasting. That's why I do the job that I do. And I've had 3 children now, and each one has been completely different, and it just surprises the hell out of me every day, but in a wonderful way. Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited for you that you've got all that to come. But I really hope, because you have got a trump card, you're right.
Yeah.
It will find it
in this area.
I don't know what to say, so he's not going to know what to say either, because there's no argument with it.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes, and whether you manage to stick to your guns.
Yeah. I mean, it's the one area where I might lose every single other debate, but I think this one I'll win. I
think you might.
And because my wife also works at Social Chain as well, so she.
I was going to say, actually, have you got backup?
Yeah,
because you're going to need it, mate.
I got backup. Yeah.
Good.
I got backup.
Well, that's really important as well. Working as a team.
Yeah.
It's very much underrated. It sounds like you've got a good team, both at work, at home, and everywhere else as well. I'm so happy for you that you're able to tell such an amazing story at such a young age, and I'm sure actually things are just
that's the biggest compliment of the whole day. Bloody hell, young.
But I kind of feel like, even though you've got so much to say, Dom, and that you've been through so much, I kind of get a sense that you're just getting started.
We'll see. Yeah, I've got, like I say, there's big ambitions, and I feel like the most important thing for me at the moment is like my plan has always, well, since I've kind of my mindset has been Social Chain has been my start.
Yeah.
And then I consciously started a business which had a bit more of a lifestyle orientation. So like in the last kind of 5 years, I've got married, bought a house, had a kid, another kid's on the way, and.
Hang on a minute. So you've got to get 2 of them off the screens.
Yeah.
Oh.
So yeah, I might have to let that one out, but it depends when it goes out.
Yeah.
But I've consciously set my life up in a way where my office is 10 minutes away from where I live.
Mm-hmm.
I've put lifestyle first for a period of time. I think in my life maybe 2 more free iterations of what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And the next one I think is the one I'm getting the most set on that I'm going to do, and it is probably the same effort and energy running a company, and I know how much that takes. So it's been nice to feel like a bit of a mini break. Obviously we've been doing a lot, but knowing that what I want to do next is going to be very emotionally draining.
So you're tooling up, you're getting ready for the next big thing.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully you'll talk to us about it at some point in the future, because I'm really curious now. But for this session, I think we're pretty much done. I'm so grateful that you're just such an open book. I found you so easy to talk to, and I'm sure that this will be a source of massive motivation and inspiration to people. You're pretty accessible, right? You're all over socials. Yep. You're on LinkedIn. If people want to connect with you, what is the best way for them to do that?
Instagram, hit LinkedIn, drop me a DM.
You cool with that?
Very cool with that, yeah.
Normally I pimp every founder out, but I didn't know whether I was allowed to with you.
Pimp me, yeah, for anything, yeah.
Amazing. That's so kind. Thank you. And thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.